Hello and welcome to another DJ Force 10 in Conversation podcast, episode 122. My special guest on this episode is the legendary guitar maestro, Gus G. We're going to talk all things Firewind. They got a brand new album coming out on the 15th of May through AFM Records. I've been fortunate enough to hear the whole thing, and it's great. I love it. They got a new vocalist, which we talk about in the podcast, but his guitar work is fine. Everything is on fire, basically. It's amazing. I really dig it, and that's why I'm talking to Gus G on this show. I just want to give a shout out to all the bands this week we've been chatting to. Been an absolute pleasure. I hope you guys have enjoyed the shows. Thank you for everyone that's listening as well. I am keeping an eye on the sort of like statistics, if you will, and it's definitely an all-time high right now, and I'm glad I'm providing a bit of distraction to the world right now, even though we do talk about it. But I think it's important to talk about it in every light as well. But I'm not, I'm finding it weird. I'm not going to lie. It's still weird. We're now sort of like 4 or 5 weeks into the lockdown. Thankfully, I should say, work for me, they're kind of providing more sort of learning, more training and stuff like that, which is great. It's really keeping my mind occupied between working with my family and stuff like that, sort of doing a bit of homeschooling for the kids, letting them get on with their allocated schoolwork. Shout out to all the teachers that are still working. And all the NHS stuff, because I've been unfortunate in the past week to actually having to use them. Not going to go into details, but we had to use the NHS. But they've been absolutely fantastic. I can't fault them. I mean, they're decked up in essentially riot gear, just paper riot gear. But they're doing an absolute a job I can't imagine doing, to be honest with you, in this sort of day. I find it hard enough to go outside in this time, but to provide for my family, I will. But if I don't have to, then I will not go out. But yeah, it's certainly a strange time. But if anyone's out there that's struggling, give us a shout. I'm more than happy to chat about it. You can find me on the various socials. You know how to find me. But also, if anyone is feeling fruity and wants to listen to something a bit more semi-radical, I did a 3-hour DJ mix the other night. It was only supposed to be about an hour and a half. Turned out to be 3 hours on Twitch. So if you go to my Twitch channel, you don't have to subscribe to it if you don't want to. You can just stream straight off of it. But it's twitch.tv/DJForceX. And on there, it's a very dark video. I had the lights out with sort of like some fairy lights on. But I did a sort of 3-hour rock, metal, dance music hybrid mix. It was a lot of fun. I had a few people in the chat room. Not sure exactly how many people watched it in the end, but I didn't do it for that. I just did it, I put it up as a sort of an event and just to sort of give some distraction. But if you want it, you can have it on in the background, just streaming on your phone or your TV or whatever. Go have a listen. It's kind of a return to Crossing the Streams, which I did on Total Rock. Kind of trying to look to sort of relaunch that at the moment. But yeah, please go listen to it or watch it if you want to. Not that you can see much apart from like lights and my beard. But yeah, it's quite good fun. It was good fun to do. I really enjoyed sort of flexing my mixing muscle, if you will. But yeah, just sort of like content providing at the moment, sort of keeping you all occupied as much as I can. But if there's anything you want to know from the show, anything you want to see from the show, I'm trying to get a few more sort of bit more diverse guests. I'm not saying that I'm not getting diverse guests with all the musicians I'm speaking to, but I'm trying to get people of different performing arts and stuff like that at the moment. So, but I'll keep you obviously you guys in the loop once I do confirm stuff. But we've had a few good interviews happen this week that I've got ready for next week. I've got Chemists. They're a great band coming out of the States. Even got to interview DJ Woody as well, which was great, fantastic. Jim Davies, formerly of The Prodigy and Pitch Shifter. That's another interview coming up. Royals, sort of pop punk band from out of sort of like Southampton, Basingstoke way. From Ashes to New. They got a brand new single out. Go check that out. And then this evening, actually, just after or just before I recorded this, I spoke to Cryos and Therapy Zarafosa. Both fantastic. All these interviews have been great. I've been absolutely digging them all. And the music you guys are making is amazing. I wouldn't be chatting to them otherwise, really, to be perfectly honest with you. If I don't dig what I'm hearing, generally I'm not enthused to chat to the band because I can't be passionate about it. But everyone that I've been speaking to so far, I'm absolutely passionate about their music. I love it. It's great. But anyway, I've waffled on enough now, and this interview is coming up now. I'm trying to think of the words. Can't think of the words. I'm losing my voice as well. It's not good. But yeah, here is Gus G. Enjoy. I'd like to welcome Gus G to my show of Firewind. Welcome, sir.
Hey, good to be here.
Cool. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you, and I hope you as well. And we're all locked inside.
We are, yes.
Yeah.
With not much to do, but we're doing this, so this is all good. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Cool. So, I've been weird today to talk about your band's new album of the same title of your band, Firewind. It's out on May 15th.
Correct.
This year, and I was curious what I was reading up about the album, and I've heard your previous works amongst not just Firewind, but your solo stuff, and obviously your work with the likes of Ozzy Osbourne and Arch Enemy and stuff like that.
Cool.
But what was your main sort of inspiration behind this particular album? Because obviously you gave it a self-titled. Was it more of a sort of this is what you wanted Firewind to sound like, or was it something else?
Well, it's interesting. It was an interesting story with this record because it started out differently and it ended up differently, obviously. I mean, I started writing it when the lineup was different, and then towards the end, the lineup change happened. Yeah. So, I mean, music-wise, it was kind of business as usual for me. I was just writing the material that was coming out naturally for me, and what I thought was, good material to be on a Firewind record, and the natural continuation. But, anyways, towards the end of last year, 2019, there were, these lineup changes that were inevitable. They had to happen. And to me, that's when I really, that was something that I saw coming, to be honest. I didn't expect it was going to happen on this album, but it was like, okay, now I have to really reapproach this, and I have to think again how I'm going to do this in order to finish the production and move forward. And it was like one of those things, like, okay, I'm going to restart, basically. I'm going to do a total makeover of the band. I'm going to use the material that I have, and I'm going to find a new singer who can come in and, finish the project with me, and, just hope for the best. It was like one of those situations where, while the material was strong and everything, like, there were so many other factors that we were kind of like walking on a wire, everything could have fallen apart at any given moment.
So, where did you find your new vocalist? Because I must say, I've listened to your previous works. I listened to your last album, in fact, as well, and listened to this album, and he just seems to be. It's really fresh, if that makes sense. It's a very sort of he's got a lot of power, and it's very clean in his delivery.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt the same thing as soon as I heard him as well. I was like, well. I thought, well, that's the guy that should have been singing in Firewind forever. So, it's a kind of vocal, the type of vocals that I like. First of all, when I heard Herbie Langen's side, he reminded me of our old singer from the first two albums, Stephen Frederick, that kind of vocals. So, anyways, it was through the label that this whole thing happened. I called up AFM Records and I said, look, this is what's going on. going to be making these changes, and do you know somebody? Can you suggest somebody? I have some names in mind, but do you know anybody? And they were like, well, how about Herbie Langens? And I was like, okay, can you maybe send me something to check out? And then I heard, I didn't know who he was, but they sent me a bunch of links, and one of them was from this band that I had heard of years ago, a band he was in called Sinbreed, and I was like, yeah, I remember that. And I remember when I was hearing that guy, I was like, this guy would fit for us so well, but that was like 8 years ago or something. And anyhow, so they had to put us in touch, and then we started talking, and there was a little bit of talk, and I sent him some stuff, some of the older material to sort of try out how he would do on that, and also wanted to send him some of the new riffs and try to write something together and see what happens, And I mean, everything just felt really naturally. I mean, the first song we wrote together was Devour, which is the second track, I think, on the track list. Yeah. And to me, that sounded like, I'm like, okay, this is the Firewind sound. This is how we should be sounding, and it was just easy from there on. But the only kind of thing which was a bummer for him, I guess, it was that I told him, look, this is the situation. We have this album, we're missing the vocal lines and the lyrics, and we have about 2 months deadline to finish it. And after that, there's going to be a world tour. So it's like, it all has to happen, like, it has to start like yesterday. Yeah. So that's what happened. But he was up for the challenge, man. He did great. Not many people could have pulled that off. So
no, I was going to say, it sounds like you've got a great cohesion in the sort of sound that you have, with your guitar work and everything as well. It was just like it was quite a fresh. Because I've been listening to it. I've been fortunate. I got sent the album, which is. I've got to say it's fantastic, the whole album.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. But no, it was just it just, like I said before, it felt so fresh. It was like you had a new energy behind it. Not that anything you'd done before was kind of lackluster or anything, but it just had this like much more, I think the word power came to mind.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It is more powerful. I think partly not only because Herbie's such a powerful singer, but also the production is different. I mean, during the end, there was another problem. I mean, Dennis Ward, who mixed and produced the previous album, he started working with Halloween on their new record. Okay. And so that meant that he was going to be absent from completing the production with us. So in the end, he didn't even know if he was going to be able to deliver the mix on time, and I was like, okay. So I'm like, here we go, like another one, right? So, but it was all good, man. It's like, 'cause, Dennis has helped me a lot with a lot of the songwriting and producing and stuff. So I had to find somebody to finish the job, basically, and in comes Tobias Lindell, who's a great, excellent mixer, Swedish guy. And I spoke to him and I said, we need to start mixing like right away. Like, do you? So it was like that, literally. Like, can I send you the files now and you start mixing like tomorrow morning or something? And he was like, yep, okay. So yeah, so I think he brought in that kind of fresh type of sound as well. This record sounds really punchy, really huge, big drums, big guitars. Like, it's good, and at the same time, it sounds like also like very real, not like very plasticky, like a lot of metal productions today.
Yeah, that was the difference with it as well, because I've heard a lot of obviously I hear a lot of music as a sort of this job that I do with the radio, but
a lot of stuff sounds the same, doesn't it? I mean,
it can do a lot of, like, because a lot of people are seeing the same producers and the same mixers, and you can see a sort of pattern emerging, and it's good for, like, radio or playing out at the club or whatever that I do with it, but after a while it can become quite monotonous, and occasionally like this particular album breaks through, and I'm like, I can hear all these different sounds, whereas like before it's always kind of like the one sort of guitar tone, the one like drum sound and all that kind of stuff. But with this album, it had like all the sort of like attributes that I kind of like I miss on certain songs, and you can actually hear everything coming through.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can thank Tobias for that. He did a great mix that really fit the whole attitude of the songs, and maybe because, Tobias also mixes bands, more rock bands. Like, he's done like a Europe record, I think, a few years ago. And he's done a band called Mustache, and he's done like Avatar. So it's like, some might have said like, okay, maybe this is a kind of like a weird choice for like a power metal band like Firewind, but I think it fit in so well.
It definitely has worked, and I think that's something that, like, along with like it's when you get like certain musicians that only play in one style but they work in a different band, like you got a punk band with a metal guitarist or something like that. Sometimes that works, and it works the same with producers as well, because they're so used to doing, or they do kind of other stuff, and then they go into a genre they're not known for. They get that excitement from like hearing something different as well.
Yeah. That's what it was basically. He got excited about it too, and and that's it. Then when the mix starts, everything starts clicking in, and you hear like, okay, everybody gets excited again. So then like sometimes, because a lot of times you do a record and like, okay, in the end you're like, it's kind of hard to imagine the final finished product. Many times it's easy to to lose lose a ball of what's going to happen, and especially like in our case where so many things happen in the middle, and there was a lot of uncertainty. So I mean, towards the end it got very exciting again. So I'm glad.
That's good. That's all. You could definitely tell there's a different like sort of breath of fresh air into it and everything. Cool. Especially with the lead single that you guys released a couple of weeks ago, Rising Fire. I really enjoyed that song, and a couple of others off the album that I really like are Perfect Strangers, and the actual Longing to Know You as well.
Oh, cool! Thank you, thank you, man.
They're all very kind of like the different styles, but the songs themselves, everything was great about them. So, where do you get your kind of like? Because obviously you do a lot of guitar work for a lot of people and yourself. Where does your sort of like source of creativity come from when you sort of like sit down and start to write things? Because obviously, you come up with a lot of different riffs, and I was just sort of curious on your sort of writing style.
Yeah, the last few years I started writing a bit differently, in the sense that, I mean, in the past I used to do all these songwriting sessions. Okay, let's sit down for like 10 days and come up with, I don't know, 10 songs or something. And and then maybe you get like a few good ones and the rest is not as good or whatever. And then you do another songwriting session and then that's it. Then you got to go in the studio. But I mean, lately I find, especially with the technology we have in our hands nowadays, I just compile ideas and riffs. I just write all the time, more or less. And I have this kind of like riff vault and, and I just kind of like put stuff there, kind of pile it up there, even if it's just like the main riff, right? And if it's not so much, not like unfinished arrangements, just a little bits and pieces here and there. And I compile some stuff also on my phone when I get a quick idea, and then I revisit it like a month or two later, and then I'm like, okay, then I pick and choose. Okay, this is okay, this isn't, or whatever. Yeah. And that sort of gives me like a head start of where I'm gonna go. Like at least I pick out like maybe 4 or 5 ideas, and I'm like, okay, this is good enough so we can start. And I complete the songs like that. I sort of put the pieces of the puzzle together, and that's, a lot of the ideas on the record, some of that stuff is like, it goes, I've had it for years sitting in there, and then I put new parts into it that I wrote recently, and it's good to revisit ideas like that, because sometimes some songs write themselves and some songs need their time. It's hard to finish them up. And for example, Longing to Know You, it's a song that I actually wrote like in 15 minutes. It's like one of those things. Okay. It just came out. I just picked up the acoustic and came out. And then like, a song like Welcome to the Empire, that's like I've had this, and it was like an idea that was torturing me for years. I've had it like for 4 or 5 years maybe. I originally wanted it to be on a solo record. I wanted it to be an instrumental, but then it didn't really click. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. It sounded like a Firewind record, Firewind track song, but I almost try to work against that. I wanted to put it on a solo record. I was like, this should be a Firewind song. So we put some vocals on there, and then then the rest of the song came to me very easy. Once I heard the first vocal lines. So it's going back to your question, it depends on the song. It depends on the song and then the ideas. But what I do is I just compile them, and we go from there.
Okay, that's cool. Who? Because I look back, I saw some of like I saw sort of like the sort of influences side of things that you're like the sort of classic sort of music stuff that you're into and you're influenced by. But I was just curious, who are you sort of influenced by today? Like, if you had to sort of like pick anyone that's making music at the moment, or anyone that's kind of any players that you really admire that are still going right now, who would they be?
I mean, there's lots of talents out there. I've a lot of great players out there. Well, you mean from the newer generation, right?
Yeah, from the newer generation, because I'm always curious as to what influences people like when they start. But I'm sort of seeing if they still like, if you still, for instance, look at like some players or some like a release that had come out and go, oh wow, let's try some of that. Or is it giving you kind of like an impetus to try something different?
Yeah, no, not much like that, because if you do that too much, you're gonna end up sounding like those people.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So I try to stay away from that. It's not like, but that does not mean that I don't admire other players and other musicians, like many guys. And I mean, I recently did a collaboration with Andy James, who's a guy from England, and we did a song together, and it was cool, and that's a guy he's a hell of a player. He's one of the greatest players right now on earth, in my opinion. And
nice.
Another friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Angel Vivaldi, he's American, he's from Jersey, and I toured with him like 2 years ago, and he's a great kind of like up and coming guy, and he's a guy who blew up basically online, on Spotify and YouTube, and like a very DIY guy, and very like very like totally self-financed, like I like his work ethic, how he approaches everything, like very like artistic, Yeah. So, and he's a great, a shredder, hell of a player. So there's a lot of players out there right now doing a lot of exciting stuff, I mean, cool. For me, I just find it's I mean, I love these guys. I like to work with them. I like to tour with them. But obviously, at the same time, I think you influence each other kind of like subconsciously. But it's always good to sort of stay in your corner and do your thing. So
yeah. No, that's true. That's all cool. Thank you. This is a sort of a new question I've introduced in the last couple of weeks. But what are you doing during this lockdown? What are your sort of like what are you doing to sort of like stay connected with people and stuff like that?
Well, so far I have, well, I mean, I've been at home. I just enjoy time with my wife and my cats. And I play a big guitar. I've been writing a little bit. I work out a little bit at home. Okay. Just watch a lot of movies. And just really not trying to worry too much about things. Yeah. Just observing the news. I'm probably certain that touring wise, the rest of the year is off. I'm just kind of trying to relax and enjoy it. I like being at home. I mean, it's not like when I'm off touring, it's not like I'm going out all the time. I'm at home mostly. So it's not a lot has changed. I mean, of course, I haven't seen my friends or my parents for a while, but we keep in touch through FaceTime or whatever.
Oh, that's good.
And I try to stay on social media, not overdoing it, because everybody seems to go live now these days, and I don't want to bust people's balls about that. But I do check in every couple of days, and it's just to see how everybody's doing. Yeah, and that's it, really. Cool. And I mean, this week has been very busy because I just started doing heavy press for the record. So I'm spending like 5-6 hours a day on the phone talking to press. So okay. So I'm definitely keeping busy this week. Yeah.
Oh no, that's good. That's good. It's good. It's good to keep busy at this time. I was just curious because like I've interviewed, obviously a lot of bands are at home at the moment, so it's been quite a good sort of like time for me to get interviews and stuff. So but no, I'm just curious as to what people are doing, like either personally or if they're like doing anything like on the band side of things, like anyone who's got an impending album like in the next couple of weeks coming out, what if they're doing any, that some of them are doing live events and stuff like that, but like some of them are just like you just sort of keeping in touch with people, just sort of saying, is everyone all right, and right.
Yeah, I mean, like we released a song and we're trying to promote a little bit, but it's also very fragile times, for everybody. And I think on one hand, you have to be careful, but on the other hand, I think people will still need to be entertained. They can't think of the pandemic day and night. I mean,
definitely.
It's in our minds inevitably. Like it's in there anyways, and you always worry about this all day long. So it's good to kind of like break away from that and think about other stuff. And I think music is the best company.
It is totally. For me, it definitely is. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, it's keeping me relatively sane. So it's
yeah.
You know,
for me too. It's the same.
Yeah. Cool. I've got a couple of questions left for you, Gus, and then I'll let you get on with the rest of your evening, if that's all right.
Sure, man. Yeah.
Cool. So these are my generic questions, but they're kind of like ones I ask everyone kind of thing. So, what would you say were your 3 top albums that have influenced you to the musician that you've become? Like, what were the ones that made you pick up a guitar? What were the ones that kind of, you know, like really made you think?
All right. Well, here it is. The album that made me pick up a guitar was "Frampton Comes Alive" by Peter Frampton.
Amazing.
Yeah, great record. I mean, another record that really... Probably I'm going to give you like 2 more guitar records, right?
Oh, that's fine. Whatever you want to give us.
Yeah. Or maybe not. You know, I'll give you... So, you know what? I will also say Black Sabbath, Master of Reality, because that was like my introduction to really heavy metal, heavy music.
Nice.
And, yeah. And the other one I'm probably going to say... Yngwie Malmsteen's Trilogy album, because that was like my introduction to shred guitar.
Yeah.
Or the so-called shred guitar. And I mean, through that, I went on and, you know, became sort of like a life mission to learn how to play that kind of stuff. And, you know, I discovered an array of guitar players that, you know, that kind of similar style, and went on to that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the Yngwie album's great. Obviously, Black Sabbath, I grew up on that, so it's and Frampton Comes Alive. I've not heard that album in a long time.
It's not a metal record or anything, but it's because my dad had the vinyl at home, and when I was 9 and I was listening to him doing the talk box guitar, I thought, you know, this was like the epiphany I had. That I was like, okay, I want to learn how to, you know, you have that vision in your head that you're up on a stage and you're playing, but you don't really know why is that and what is that. But that was the album that got me curious. Yeah.
No, I had the same effect with me with a track by Herbie Hancock called Rocket. And I'm a scratch DJ now. Well, and that was the song that really kind of like caught me, because I was like, what's that noise? And there's this guy going and I'm like, what's making that noise? Because it wasn't a keyboard, it wasn't a guitar, it wasn't like, and then I saw the video for it, and I was like, this guy with records, and he's just scratching back and forth, and I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm sat here in my studio, got 2 turntables right next to me and a mixer, so it's
awesome.
You know,
there you go.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of thing that happened for me, and you kind of follow that, and you kind of, there's obviously a plethora of scratch DJs and hip hop and all that kind of stuff that went into it, and that's awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And finally, what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not out playing or writing or whatever, what do you kind of do to sort of, if you need to get away from it, you know, what do you do?
I don't have hobbies like golf or something, not like that. So, I mean, for me, I'm just enjoying to just stay home and, you know, have my peace and quiet here at home, and, you know, just watch movies. I'm a big cinema fan, and you know, go to the movies. I like to work out a little bit, you know, and
Cool. What are your current favorite movies?
I just saw. I mean, one of the last times that I went to the cinema was. I saw The Gentleman.
Okay, cool.
I think that's is that a Guy Ritchie film? I think.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was awesome. I like his movies a lot. And or are you talking about favorite movies ever, or is that what
I mean,
saying,
you can do, or even current ones, like you did with The Gentleman. But what is your favorite film?
I mean, I like Stanley Kubrick films.
Okay, cool.
You know, Eyes Wide Shut, you know, Clockwork Orange, stuff like that. You know, I like the old gangster movies, Pacino, De Niro, stuff like that. So, and then, of course, I'm a big fan of the ultimate heavy metal movie, Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm talking about the first one, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate power metal.
But I mean, I'm also like a big Tarantino fan. I like Once Upon a Hollywood, his latest one. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Gus, thank you very much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it. I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your evening so you can have a relax and whatnot.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate
it.
The
next batch of interviews, whenever they are. So.
Yeah. Thanks a lot again, man. Thanks for the good chat.
Cool.
And have a good day there.
No worries, man. Have a good one, all right?
All right, you too. Bye-bye.